Hey, hello all. I'm here with Jack, CEO and founder of Naurt. Welcome, Jack.
Thank you so much for having me.
How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you, Matt.
Let's just go as always straight to the point. Maybe just give me
Yep.
a bit of an intro, background, where you come from, and what you're doing now.
Perfect. So I'm Jack Maddalena. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Naurt. My background is in enterprise sales. So I was working in an agency selling a load of different projects and campaigns to different companies around the world. I did that for 9 years. A few of those years, I was a sales director. One of my clients at the time, TUI, had a tracking problem of matching a customer in the foreign airport with a taxi driver, and they wanted a way to improve it. So I said, okay, let me go away, see if I can come up with something. I'm speaking to somebody who I knew locally in our area of Brighton, where I come from, and he was actually working on some location tracking. So I went, perfect, we're sending that to TUI. And then 3 months later, we had a feasibility study, and that basically was the starting point of Naurt. Um, so what we identified, there was a location problem of inaccuracy. So we wanted to improve GPS tracking accuracy. We spent 3 to 4 years building out the deep technology, and now we provide a software solution that improves GPS tracking, but also provides really highly accurate locational data, specifically for delivery companies, of the optimal parking spot and building entrance for every single address.
Now that you mentioned the case about TUI, so it seems like the idea or the MVP to build Naurt came from a problem that you just faced with an old customer, right? Um, I think if you read those kind of books like the Mom Test and those other like startup books, they say that the best way to start a business is just finding a problem and just getting the customer to pay for it before you build it. Um,
Yeah.
Most of us, I don't know if it's your case, we just get that problem, but then we build it without the customer paying. So what we see is that then we build something and it's hard for people to pay for. Can I ask you, did that customer pay for it before you build it, or you just had to build it without
Yeah.
getting paid?
So we did it as a stage approach. So the very first bit of work was a feasibility study. It was for an X amount for us to basically work out what could be done with indoor to outdoor tracking. How would it work in their ecosystem? That then went on to a proof of concept. That then went on to an alpha. And then we were supposed to launch our beta with 1,000 customers in an European airport. That was supposed to go live in the first week of April 2020. So mid-March, we realized very quickly that this project wasn't going anywhere forward anymore because of the pandemic. So we had to stop that work with TUI, and that's when we started our journey of building out a SaaS offering where to allow anybody else to gain access to this improvement in tracking accuracy.
So
So we did it on a phased approach of paid work to get us to help us fund basically building the deep tech.
you and when you go to North, you mentioned that you help improve where riders park and to show where the
Mhm.
door is, right? That's a bit maybe that's not the exact words and so on.
Yeah.
Um, if so, it means that you work with companies that need to deliver stuff and you help their drivers solve the last 100 meters, you call it, right? So
Yeah.
if you guys are not aware with what the driver does when he just needs to carry a package or flowers or whatever he carries, he just needs to go to deliver to Jack, but Jack lives in a building, and the navigator is going to take you to where Jack lives. But then the driver has a car or a motorbike or a van, so this guy needs to park it somewhere, and then he needs to figure out where to enter because maybe that building has 10 entrances, right? So
Mhm.
can you maybe give an example on what you guys do and how you solve it?
Of course. So to give you a stat that not many people know about, drivers on average waste 1 hour and 6 minutes daily in the final 100 meters. That's either cruising to find a parking spot that they won't get a parking fine within, and also to be able to locate the exact building entrance to be able to deliver those goods, then to be able to go back to the vehicle that they've turned it up in to then complete the next delivery. That's a huge amount of wasted time that can equal a handful of deliveries or more for that delivery driver that they could have completed. So that's lost revenue opportunity for that driver as well as that delivery company. So How we do this is we track millions of delivery drivers around the world, and we have an algorithm that automatically detects where they've parked their vehicle and where they've entered the building. And we send those two locations to our backend. We have a smart backend that looks at a load of different attributes of past delivery data to be able to work out what is the optimal parking spot and building entrance to that delivery address. So that means the next time a delivery driver goes to that address, we can provide them with highly accurate locational data of exactly where to go, where to park, and where to walk to find the door. So that means they can save that 1 hour and 6 minutes so they can increase their deliveries per hour and their fleet capacity.
There is, when I used to work in food delivery a few years ago, just before Cosmo, there's a metric that you always look at. So you have the delivery time of an order, let's say it's 30 minutes, and then you split it in different steps. We call it, right? The time to accept, the time to pick up, the time to delivery, the time at customer, right? And the time at customer was from the moment you entered a 250-meter geofence from the customer coordinate until you left it, right? So you had to just park, get the
Yep.
food, and come back. What's interesting here, talking about Asia, is that you could see markets in which the at customer time was 3 minutes, right? So pretty low, and that normally was related to easy buildings or places where you could just park in front of the building, so no issues there. And then some more developed countries like Singapore or with big condominiums, the at customer time could be 10 minutes. And the same happened at restaurant. Sometimes if you were going to a
Yep.
mall, it was you spend a lot of time at restaurant, right? So that's something that was quite painful for us because every minute counted. And that's something we looked into a lot in-house. It's a very hard problem to solve. But have you, so jumping into linking this to Naurt, is that a target client for you? Who are your target clients? Who can benefit from this tool that you guys are building?
So we specifically work with large delivery companies that have quite sizable fleet sizes because it's very easy to demonstrate the business impact with a large fleet, and it's a clear ROI. If we can increase your delivery per hour rate between 12 to 16%, it pays for naught, and you have a lot more meat on the bone afterwards. And those are typically the sweet spots that we find. And you rightly mentioned us to be able to provide this accurate locational data doesn't only just improve that driver and that delivery company to be able to complete more deliveries in a day. For an example, within malls, and you need to pick up goods from a vendor, for an example, there could be multiple different building entrances that you could enter that building within. With Naurt, because we provide you all the building entrances to that building, it allows you to accurately go, right, where's the driver coming from? Where do they need to go? What's the most efficient building entrance to go into to pick up those goods, to then make sure they're the correct side of the road, for example, to complete the next delivery. And these little things might seem minuscule, but that time adds up over time if you need to turn around or go around the block to find. And that adds that 3 minutes, that 5 minutes. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the day, you have that 1 hour and 6 minutes wasted that could have been saved. And these are the little improvements that we're looking to do for large scale companies.
If I think about the driver, you're mentioning all those benefits and that you partner with large delivery companies so they can benefit these percentages in time, basically in rider idle time, right? Do the drivers benefit from this beyond being more optimized?
Yeah, so there's a big contention here in Europe at the moment, and you've probably seen it, especially in London. Drivers going on strike, for an example, because of pay. If we can increase their deliveries per hour, it means that we can bolster and improve their hourly pay rate because they've completed more deliveries, and that's really important for the drivers. But also, for an example, a lot of delivery companies pass on the parking ticket fines. If a delivery driver parks in a certain area and then they get slapped with a 60, 80, £100 fined, that could be a majority of their work completely disappearing for that day that they've done, or they're
So you
constantly working to be able to do it
so
as well.
you know where they cannot park as well, and you can advise not to park there.
Yeah, so we have a feedback loop to allow people to let us know where they've parked and how to find. So we have a feedback loop. So our database also has a wide range of locational points of places where you shouldn't park, but as well as we have informational points of loading bays, for an example, and other attributes that can help a delivery driver make that informed decision of where they should and shouldn't do.
I think that's very interesting, but also that's a topic that I really like, because it's very interesting, but also very complex to deal or sell. And we were talking offline how when it comes to Cosmo, we tell companies that if they optimize routes, the driver can do more deliveries per hour.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Cosmo can help with. Um, the truth out there, so the driver can do more orders in less hours, so he can either save time and go home earlier, or potentially he can make more the same money in less time, and the company can pay a bit less. So everyone can win. The reality, what I see with large delivery companies, is that um, they just give the 50 packages to the driver, and the driver has to figure out how to optimize the routes. Why my theory for why this is happening is that the company doesn't benefit directly, so it benefits indirectly from a
Mm-hmm.
more optimized setup for the driver. And I think in your case, it's the same, right? So of course the fines are quite shitty, right? So the
Yeah.
driver hate it, and the drivers are gonna complain, but that's not direct. It doesn't happen on the spot. You don't see the impact on the spot. So you might see it a few weeks later when the drivers start to complain and they just don't work for a couple of days, right? So and then the company needs to give it attention. So
Mm.
how do you think you and me, myself both, can raise the awareness that whatever impacts the driver impacts the company sort of
Yeah.
directly as well, sooner or
So
later?
there's a couple of attributes in different areas that have a knock-on effect when it comes to these types of things, and why large delivery companies should care about the efficiency of drivers, regardless if they're on a freelance basis or on a gig economy type of style operation. So, for an example, one of the things is if you're a delivery company and you freelance your drivers to everyone to do your deliveries across a region, and you give them those 50 orders and go, good luck, see you later, and you go complete them, you're still providing a customer experience to the end provider. So, for an example, if you're giving inaccurate ETAs of where the delivery is going to be and that person's not home to pick up those goods, it's going to cost the delivery company more money to be able to reimburse the customer if the goods have been stolen or fill in blank situation, or they have to then take those goods back to the warehouse to then deliver again. That has the knock on effect, and that doubles up your cost base and it squeezes your margins. So it's very important that you provide customers with highly accurate locational data that provides accurate ETAs. So one of the things that we've introduced recently is dwell time. So what's the average dwell time at this delivery point? Because if you can then know and estimate exactly all 50 dwell times within the 100 meters, you already have a really good A to B system. TomTom and any other navigational system that's been around has been there. As soon as you then have that last 100 meters of insight, as well as an optimize the whole fleet between exactly which deliveries they should be doing, all of a sudden you can provide really highly accurate ETAs for those customers. So even if you're completing 120 deliveries, you can still provide accurate ETAs even in later times within the day.
Do
And
you
that
also
improves
get
customer
into
experience.
do you also get into ETA calculations?
So we don't do ETA calculations. What we do is provide the average dwell time, and that aids the ETA tool that the delivery company or, for example,
No. Uh,
yourselves
yeah.
can leverage and use.
I think that ETA discussion is also very interesting. I think people like regular users of normally Google Maps, like not
Mhm.
professional people, they normally use Google Maps and they think that Google is the most accurate ETA calculator out there, right? But what you see is that when you're a professional, those ETAs don't apply to you.
Yep.
And yeah, I think it's off the topic, but I think it's at some point maybe it's cool to discuss about how ETAs are different in professional environment versus what you used to go from A to B as a regular user. I want to jump into something related to product.
Mhm.
You started being SDK based. Um, so let's say that now you partner with a client in a country to provide
Yep.
your, let's call it, location intelligence data to improve their last 100-meter deliveries.
Mhm.
The last 100 meters. How is the driver seeing that? from the existing product that this delivery company might be providing, this driver app?
Yeah.
How is that working?
So a traditional geocoder, for an example, would provide a latitude and longitude either in the middle of the building or within
Mm.
the area or somewhere around the street of where that final destination is. What we provide to the delivery company, so when they go, "Hi Naurt, can I please have the optimal parking spot building entrance?" through our API, we will provide back a GeoJSON. And that GeoJSON is basically a format to allow the delivery company very easily to plot a square of where the parking bay is and the dot on the map to say this is where the building entrance is. And we provide that in a way that they can change their colors to make it however they're look and feel. They can change their icons if they want to be able to show this is the parking spot and this is the building entrance clearer. It's completely customizable on a UX perspective later on down the line, but we provide them with access straight away. So we have tens of millions of addresses around the world that can be accessed from today with our API.
I want to ask you a very long shot because I've explored that area
Yep.
as in one of those moments in which you feel like you just want to build stuff. You seem to have quite some data that could
Mm-hmm.
impact navigation systems, let's say, right?
Yep.
Have you considered building a mobile navigation app, like being just mobile and it just use your geocoder to be
So
used by drivers directly?
I'll give you some context why we're solving this problem, and that probably aids into why we're not building a driver app or an app or a navigation app in general. So when we're in beta a few years back, when we were testing with 83 different enterprise clients, from Ferrari to DHL to Ferrari civil engineering company, what we identified was in the delivery space had the biggest business impact that we could provide with the littlest amount of work that we can do, and very easy to be able to demonstrate that business impact. Use our accurate locational data, increase your delivery per hour rate, means you can generate more revenue. It basically pays for itself. So it was really easy to be able to get that understanding. So what we did was we then looked at that and we realized that actually within our market analysis, there's already route optimization tools like yourselves and a platform that does all that management on the behalf. Why would we want to try and recreate the wheel when we could just do one thing extremely well and be known for improving GPS tracking accuracy and providing really accurate locational data, and then provide that as part of the supply chain? So we felt that actually we can have the maximum amount of impact what we provide in that area to be able to provide those areas. So we're not interested in building
Yeah,
out a false tech stack supply chain that's white label or
yeah,
licensable. We want to do that one thing extremely well and be known for doing that one thing extremely well, and then partner with the likes of yourself or delivery companies to access the data that we've created to be able to get that business value. So we're very much in our own lane in the sense of
yeah.
approving tracking and providing that data, and that's our sweet spot.
But if you, so for example, with Cosmo, we have a driver app, and of
Mm-hmm.
course, with the navigation we provide is by integrating with Google Maps or Waze mainly, right? That's what most of the drivers out there use,
Yep.
and you see that quite some drivers prefer Waze than Google
Of
Maps
course.
because it has more, the data is more rich for that. But Waze
Mm-hmm.
was started, if I'm not wrong, more for ride hailing, so it's not very delivery focused. So I don't know, maybe I'm a bit just too optimistic, but I think there's a space to do a ways for delivery. Most likely, it's a very hard business, and I'm
Yeah.
not saying you need to build it, but I think I think about that sometimes. Most likely, it's also very hard business. Have to make money, and of course, you compete with Waze, Google, and so on. But you don't see that. You don't see that you could build a ways for delivery.
I think this is one of the things, and when we were when we were in beta, and when we had our hypotheses that the current GPS tracking levels of accuracy and the current quality of locational data in the market was very much skewed to B2C. So what I mean by that is Google Maps was very designed for you to get from point A to point B, but you have relevant context. So if I'm driving to my parents' house, for an example, I know when I get there how to get to the front door and greet them, for an example, especially within these types of environments where accuracy wasn't really needed. So it's very skewed towards the smartphone and what's available. And what's that left is a gap in the market that, when it comes to the professional side, that actually needs a more professional, rounded solution that's not being designed for the general consumer, but more as a
Yeah,
professional look and feel. And that's where we've explored to do, hence why we're not building a full app, but we want to be able to empower those app providers, if that's the likes of Here Technologies or
yeah,
yourself, or we want to be able to be the supplier of that locational data and
yeah.
tracking to be able to provide people to build businesses off.
Okay, okay, okay. I'll keep it in my notes. Well, Jack, thanks a lot for coming here. I think it was quite cool to talk to you. I think you're one of the startups that we started to talk maybe one plus years ago when I started Cosmo. And, I think what you're building is really cool. So thanks for sharing and be in touch.
No worries at all. Thanks so much for having me.